The Galactic Combat Commission's emergency broadcast cut through every channel in the sector simultaneously. Tournament champion Korvax, hospitalized with injuries physically impossible under current tournament regulations. Human competitor remains in ring. Repeat, human competitor remains in ring. Commissioner Zillax stared at the medical readouts, his three eyes blinking in sequence as if the act might somehow change the data. It didn't. Korvax, 8 feet of pure muscle, 12-time Galactic champion, survivor of the Krell War, lay on a medical stretcher with 17 confirmed fractures and what the trauma team was diplomatically calling complete ribcage restructuring. "Explain this to me again," Zillax said, his voice tight with the kind of control that preceded either enlightenment or a complete mental breakdown. Slowly.
According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content.
The medical officer, a Tyrellian with 6 specialized scanning appendages, gestured helplessly at the holographic display. The impact force exceeds our planetary bombardment scales. The kinetic energy transfer is, Commissioner, it's simply not possible with organic tissue. And yet, Zillax gestured toward the ring, where Emma Johnson, human, 5'6", registered profession, janitor, stood holding a broken chair leg and looking around with obvious confusion. "Does anyone have duct tape?" Emma called out. "This was part of the furniture. I should probably fix it before I leave." Zillax felt something in his primary brain stem twitch. She's worried about the furniture. "Sir, Champion Korvax is requesting immediate transport to the medical facility. He's also requesting the aide checked his datapad twice. He's requesting asylum from the tournament, which he founded." In the ring, Emma examined the chair leg with the critical eye of someone who spent her days maintaining equipment. "Yeah, this is definitely broken. Do you guys keep super glue around here, or—" "How?" Zillax descended from the commissioner's booth, his robes swirling with the kind of dramatic authority that usually preceded executions or paradigm shifts. "How did you bypass every safety protocol? We have energy shields, molecular scanners, weapon detection systems that can identify a blade at the atomic level." Emma blinked at him. "I just hit him? Is that not how tournaments work?" The sign said, "Combat competition." "With furniture." "Well, yeah." Emma held up the chair leg like it was self-explanatory. "You banned weapons. This isn't a weapon, it's furniture debris, technically. The scanning systems showed I was harmless," Emma finished, starting to smile. "Right. Because I am. I'm a janitor. I clean gyms. This is literally less dangerous than the mop I use at work." The medical team was now surrounding Korvax, their instruments humming with urgent concern. One of them looked up, membrane flashing distress colors. "Commissioner, we're reading fracture patterns consistent with... He trailed off, checking his instruments again. "With what?" Zillax demanded. "With being hit by a small moon, sir." Emma laughed. Actually laughed. "Guys, it's just a chair leg. I used to practice on heavy bags that weigh more than this guy. He left his ribs completely open after that overhead swing. Basic mistake, really." "Basic," Zillax repeated flatly. "Sure, you don't drop your guard in the pocket. Everyone knows that." Emma looked around at the assembled aliens, tournament officials, and emergency response teams. "Right?" The silence was the kind that preceded the rewriting of fundamental universal laws. "Let me understand this correctly," Zillax said, each word carefully measured. "You are telling me that you, an unmodified human with no cybernetic enhancements, no genetic optimization, no energy augmentation, just used a piece of furniture to cause injuries that our medical systems classify as incompatible with survival." "Is he okay?" Emma asked, genuine concern crossing her face. "I pulled that hit. Didn't want to actually hurt the guy." "Pulled?"
3 different officials shouted simultaneously. From the stretcher, Korvax, warrior of the Krell War, survivor of 6 assassination attempts, victor of 143 consecutive matches, made a sound that the universal translators struggled to process. It eventually settled on, "Please, make her stop talking." Emma walked over, still holding the chair leg. Every alien in her path took 3 steps back. "Hey man, you good. That was a great match. Your footwork in the second round was—" "Stay back!" Korvax's attendants formed a protective barrier. "Okay, wow, rude!" Emma stepped back, hands raised. The chair leg, casually held in one hand, caused a ripple of pure terror through the crowd. "I was just trying to be sportsmanlike." Zilax's communicator erupted with priority signals. The Galactic Council, the Safety Commission, the Insurance Underwriters Guild, and, somehow most urgently, the Furniture Manufacturers Association. "Commissioner," his aide whispered, "the scanners are showing her current grip strength could crush tritanium, and she's barely holding that object." "Define barely." "Sir, our instruments indicate she's using approximately 4% of her maximum capability." In the ring, Emma was now trying to fit the broken chair leg back onto its base, tongue poking out in concentration. "Come on, you stupid thing, just—" "There!" The leg snapped back into place with a sound like controlled thunder. "She just performed molecular reconfiguration with her bare hands," someone whispered. "No," Zilax said slowly, watching Emma dust off her hands with satisfaction. "She just jammed a broken object back together through pure applied force and called it fixed." He looked at his aide. "Get me the council, all of them, and find out everything about human recreational combat sports." "Sir, Champion Korvax is being loaded into the medical transport. He's asking if there's any chance the human is from a warrior caste or military special forces." Zilax looked at Emma, who was now asking an usher where she could get a sandwich. "No," he said quietly. "She cleans gymnasiums for a living, and that, I think, is the truly terrifying part." The tournament footage played in a secure conference room, replayed frame by frame, analyzed through 47 different physics models. Every single model broke. There, Vex Thul, the Council's senior combat analyst, froze the hologram. "Watch her stance shift. She's transferring force through her entire skeletal structure, using her legs, hips, core, shoulders. It's a complete kinetic chain. We've never seen anything like it because we've never needed to. Why would anyone evolve to hit things this efficiently?" "Earth gravity," someone suggested. "Earth gravity is 1.0 standard, barely above baseline." "Then how—" The footage continued. Emma's improvised strike with the chair leg moved at speeds the camera barely caught. The impact point on Korvax's ribcage showed a force distribution that made 3 scientists excuse themselves to recalibrate their instruments. Zilax sat at the head of the table, watching his entire understanding of combat safety crumble in real time. "What's her background?" An intelligence officer pulled up Emma's file. "Emma Johnson, age 28, born Earth North America sector. Education: bachelor's degree in kinesiology, that's the study of body movement. Employment: janitorial services at a mixed martial arts training facility for 6 years. Hobbies include watching cage fighting, weightlifting, and," the officer paused, "something called tactical furniture assessment." "She's been planning this," Vex Thul breathed. "No," Zilax said, reading further. "She lists it as a joke. Her actual hobby description says, figuring out which objects in a room would make the best improvised weapons. For fun." The room fell silent. "For fun," someone repeated. "Her workout routine," the intelligence officer continued, looking progressively more disturbed, "includes hitting a suspended bag filled with sand for 30 minutes daily. The bag weighs 120 pounds. Our analysis suggests each impact generates force equivalent to our military combat drones." "That's her warm-up," another analyst added, looking up from a data pad. "She does it before her actual training." "What's her actual training?" Zilax almost didn't want to know. Something called sparring. It means fighting other humans, without weapons, for practice. They wear minimal protection and just hit each other. Recreationally, Vexthul pulled up comparative scans. I've cross-referenced her bone density against our database. Her skeletal structure is denser than our armored combat species. Her muscle fiber composition suggests constant high-impact resistance training. Her cardiovascular system... He stopped, recalculated, then continued carefully. Her cardiovascular system could support combat operations for approximately 6 hours without significant performance degradation. Korvax lasted 90 seconds, Zilax noted. Korvax, Vexthul said quietly, never stood a chance. Look at this. He pulled up a comparative analysis. Our champion trained in weapons combat, tactical strategy, and energy shield manipulation. He's optimized for tournament regulations. Emma Johnson trained in a gym where the fundamental assumption is you have nothing but your body and whatever you can grab. She's optimized for chaos. A new hologram appeared. Someone had found footage of human combat sports throughout history. Boxing matches where competitors hit each other for 12 rounds. Mixed martial arts competitions that lasted until someone was unconscious or surrendered. Wrestling matches that looked like organized violence. They created entire rule systems, the cultural analyst Lirana said, her voice full of anthropological horror, to make hitting each other safer, not to prevent it, to make it survivable enough that they could keep doing it. How is their species not extinct? Someone asked. I'm starting to think, Zilax said slowly, that we've been asking the wrong question. Not how has their species survived, how has everything else on their planet survived them? His communicator chimed. Emma Johnson was in the lobby asking if she'd be disqualified for excessive improvisation. Bring her in, Zilax ordered. I need to understand this. Emma entered 5 minutes later, still wearing her tournament shorts and a t-shirt that said, "Pain is weakness leaving the body." She had a sandwich. Hey, thanks for seeing me. Look, about the chair. Sit, please. Zilax gestured to a seat designed for species much larger than humans. Emma hopped onto it, legs dangling. Ms. Johnson, Vexthul began carefully, we've been analyzing your technique. Oh, cool. Did you see that footwork in round 2? I've been working on my pivots. Your pivots generated force equivalent to industrial pile drivers. Emma laughed, taking a bite of her sandwich. Okay, you're exaggerating now. I'm not that good. Our instruments. Your instruments are probably calibrated for people who don't train, Emma said cheerfully. I hit the bags at my gym every day. Been doing it for years. This tournament was just like a fun weekend thing, you know. Fun, Zilax repeated. Sure. I mean, the rules said no weapons, so I figured I'd just do some light sparring. Then that big guy, Core something, came at me with an overhead strike, completely telegraphed, and I just reacted. She shrugged. The chair was there. He left himself open. Basic opportunity exploitation. You were holding back, Vexthul said. It wasn't a question. Emma shifted uncomfortably. Well, yeah. I didn't want to actually hurt anyone. It's supposed to be sporting, right? You don't go full power in a friendly match. That was 4% of your capacity. Maybe? I don't really measure it. You just kind of feel it out. Emma finished her sandwich. Is Core Guy okay? I feel bad about the ribs. That looked like it hurt. He's requesting, Zilax said carefully, that you never be allowed near another tournament, or furniture, or really any object denser than foam. Huh, Emma considered this. That seems excessive, but okay. Are we done here? I've got work tomorrow. Work, Zilax said, cleaning a gym. Yeah, gotta pay rent somehow. The tournament prize money's nice though. That'll cover my membership fees for like 3 months. Emma brightened. Oh, and protein powder. That stuff's expensive. She left, waving cheerfully, completely unaware that she'd just invalidated 300 years of combat sport regulations and caused an existential crisis in 14 different scientific disciplines. Vexthul looked at Zilax. "What do we do?" "I have absolutely no idea," the commissioner admitted. "But I'm starting to think we need to completely redesign our understanding of what dangerous means." The Emergency Galactic Combat Commission meeting convened 18 hours later with representatives from 43 member species, 12 safety organizations, and one very confused human lawyer who Emma had apparently called just in case. "The chair wasn't a weapon," the lawyer, a human named Marcus Chen, said patiently. "It was furniture. Your regulations, Section 12, Paragraph 47, specifically prohibit energy weapons, projectile weapons, edged weapons, chemical weapons, biological weapons, and enhanced technological implements. Furniture is none of these things." "The intent," Zilax began, "the intent of the rules was to prevent technological advantages and manufactured weapons. Emma used an environmental object. That's not prohibited. In fact," Marcus pulled up the full tournament rulebook. Section 8. Paragraph 12 explicitly states that competitors may use environmental awareness and tactical adaptation. Emma adapted to her environment. That's following the rules, not breaking them. She restructured his ribcage with a piece of furniture that was already in the designated combat zone. If the furniture was unsafe, perhaps it shouldn't have been in a combat area. Marcus smiled pleasantly. "I could file a safety violation report about that." Zilax felt a headache forming in his primary consciousness. "You're saying we can't prohibit this?" "You can prohibit humans, but that's species discrimination and violates the Galactic Equal Treatment Accords. You can prohibit furniture, but then you'd need to prohibit rocks, dirt, air molecules. Humans have martial arts styles for all of those. You can try to prohibit environmental improvisation, but that's essentially prohibiting situational awareness, which would make the sport meaningless. So we just allow this? Unless you want to argue that humans should be bound by different rules than other species, which again, discrimination." Jotaro, the council's combat specialist, leaned forward. "Mr. Chen, we've reviewed your species' combat history. You have thousands of martial arts styles, many specifically focused on improvised weapons. Sure, Jeet Kune Do, Krav Maga, Sistema, Filipino martial arts. Lots of styles emphasize using whatever's available." "Why?" Vexthul asked, genuinely baffled. "Why would you develop fighting systems around not having proper weapons?" Marcus looked surprised by the question. "Because you can't always control your environment? Sometimes you're just in a situation and you need to deal with it. Better to train for reality than for ideal circumstances." "Your species trains for chaos," Liarana said slowly. "We train for Tuesday," Marcus corrected. "Chaos is just life, sometimes." The holographic display shifted, showing more human combat sports footage, a boxing match, a wrestling competition, something called hockey that seemed to be a sport where fighting was expected enough that it had specific penalties that didn't include removal from the game. "You penalize fighting," an official noted, "but don't disqualify it." "It's hockey," Marcus said, as if that explained everything. 5 minutes in the penalty box, everyone knows that. "Your species is insane," someone muttered. "Hey now," Marcus said cheerfully. "We're perfectly sane. We just have a robust approach to physical conflict resolution." Zilax pulled up the current tournament standings. "We have 672 registered competitors across 40 species. The entire rulebook was designed around their capabilities. Now one human has made it obsolete." "Emma's really good," Marcus agreed, "but she's not exceptional by human standards. Mid-tier amateur, probably. She just trains consistently and pays attention." "Mid-tier," Vexthul repeated faintly. "Oh yeah, you should see professional human fighters. They're ridiculous." Marcus pulled up footage on his datapad. "This is the UFC. Ultimate Fighting Championship. These people train full-time. Emma trains like an hour a day, maybe? The footage showed humans moving with controlled violence that made the tournament officials flinch. Submissions, strikes, throws, all executed with casual precision. "These are your amateurs?" Jotaro asked. "No, these are professionals. Emma's an amateur. She just does it for fun." Marcus seemed to realize he wasn't helping. "Look, the point is, you can't ban humans without discrimination, and you can't write rules that prohibit human capabilities without essentially prohibiting situational adaptation, which is fundamental to combat. Your best option is to update your safety regulations to account for high kinetic impact species." "How?" Zilax demanded. "How do we regulate this?" "Well, you could create weight classes, experience divisions, maybe species-grouped brackets." Marcus paused. Actually, Emma specifically said she didn't want a human-only division. She said, and I quote, "That's boring. I want to compete against different styles." "She wants to keep fighting aliens," Lirana said. "She wants to keep learning," Marcus corrected. "Emma's a martial arts enthusiast. She studies different combat approaches. This tournament was interesting to her because she got to see non-human techniques." "She hospitalized our champion to study him," Zilax said flatly. "She definitely didn't mean to hurt him that badly," Marcus said. "But yeah, she was probably analyzing his fighting style. That's what you do in combat sports. You learn." A junior official raised a tentacle. "What if we just ask her not to use furniture?" "Then she'll use her hands," Marcus said. "Which, honestly, might be worse. At least the chair leg had some give to it. Human knuckles are basically organic striking implements. We've been punching things for millions of years. We're really good at it." "Millions of years," someone whispered. "Evolution's fun," Marcus said cheerfully. "So, do we have a resolution here, or should I prepare discrimination lawsuit paperwork? I've got the forms ready." Zilax looked at the assembled officials, at the footage of Emma cheerfully apologizing to Korvax, at the complete breakdown of every safety protocol they'd spent centuries developing. "We need," he said slowly, "to completely redesign our approach to combat sports. And we need to assume that humans will weaponize literally everything they encounter." "That's probably smart," Marcus agreed. "Emma once told me she analyzes room layouts for tactical advantage while waiting for coffee. It's just how we think." "Terrifying," Vexthul muttered. "Practical," Marcus corrected. "But sure, let's go with terrifying. Makes us sound cooler." The new tournament regulations took 3 weeks to write and required input from 17 safety organizations, 43 species representatives, and 1 human consultant who kept suggesting they were overthinking it. Emma, for her part, spent those 3 weeks back at work, mopping floors and genuinely surprised when tourists started showing up to take pictures of her. "I don't get it," she told Marcus during one of his update calls. "I just competed in one tournament." "You hospitalized the Galactic champion with a chair leg. That makes me sound so aggressive. I was being sporting." Marcus decided not to tell her that sporting and restructuring someone's ribcage were not concepts most species associated with each other. The new regulations were finally unveiled at a press conference that drew representatives from across the galaxy. Zilax stood at the podium, looking like someone who'd been through a religious awakening and wasn't entirely happy about it. "After extensive consultation and analysis," he began, "the Galactic Combat Commission has completely revised its competition framework. We will now implement several new divisions and safety classifications." The holographic display lit up with the new structure. Traditional division, original rules, no humans allowed, for species who wanted to maintain the old system. Open division, all species welcome. Environmental improvisation permitted. Enhanced safety protocols. Human-inclusive exhibition matches. Separate insurance category. Mandatory reinforced facilities. Emergency medical teams on standby. Additionally, Zilax continued. We are establishing new safety classifications based on kinetic impact potential rather than technological enhancement. Humans have been classified as Category 5, Extreme Kinetic Threat. Emma, watching from the audience, raised her hand. That seems excessive. You punched through a reinforced door yesterday while looking for a bathroom, Zilax said flatly. It was stuck. It was locked. You destroyed the locking mechanism through pure applied force. Oh, Emma looked sheepish. Sorry about that. The new regulations continued. Mandatory safety briefings for anyone competing against humans, environmental object assessments before matches, updated insurance policies that made several underwriters weep openly. Furthermore, Zilax said, we are pleased to announce that several professional combat leagues have expressed interest in human competitors. Ms. Johnson has received 17 contract offers. Emma shook her head. I have to work. The minimum contract offer is 3 million credits annually. Oh, Emma reconsidered. That's actually more than I make mopping floors. Significantly more, Marcus whispered. But I like my job, Emma protested. I'd have to train full-time, travel, do all that professional stuff. Sounds exhausting. You could hire other people to mop floors, someone suggested, but then what would I do for exercise? The logic was so purely human that several aliens had to leave the room to process it. Eventually, Emma accepted one contract: part-time exhibition matches, minimal travel, and a clause that let her keep her gym job for the cardio. The league agreed, mostly because they were terrified of what she'd do if she got bored. Korvax, meanwhile, announced his retirement at a press conference that was more therapy session than media event. I have fought warriors, assassins, and war machines, he said, his rebuilt ribcage still aching. I have never been so comprehensively defeated by someone who thought we were having fun. Human Johnson is not a warrior. She is a force of nature who happens to be shaped like a person. Will you ever fight again? A reporter asked. Only if humanity is never involved, Korvax said firmly. I have reevaluated my life choices and found them wanting. The Galactic Council issued a classified brief to all member governments. Subject: Human recreational violence capabilities. Summary: Humans possess extreme kinetic combat abilities, developed through evolutionary pressure and cultural reinforcement. They train these abilities recreationally and consider them normal. Recommendations: Never, under any circumstances, deliberately anger humans. Assume all objects in human proximity are potential weapons. Human statements about taking it easy should be treated as severe threat indicators. The phrase, hold my beer, is an emergency warning signal. Assessment: Humans are not warriors. They are civilized persistence hunters who developed complex social structures specifically so they could occasionally hit things really hard without destroying their society. This is somehow more terrifying. 6 months later, human combat sports had become the most watched entertainment in the galaxy. Not because they were more skilled than traditional combat, but because they were utterly unpredictable. Emma's exhibition matches drew crowds in the millions. Her signature move, the furniture consultation, involved carefully examining available objects before each match. The tension of not knowing what she'd grab drove viewership numbers through the roof. Insurance rates for venues hosting humans increased by 4,000%. Furniture companies sponsored events. A cottage industry emerged around human-safe breakable objects, designed to satisfy human improvisation instincts without causing excessive property damage. The Galactic Combat Commission instituted new training programs where alien fighters learned environmental awareness from human instructors. The humans, bemused but helpful, taught courses with titles like Everything is a Weapon, an Introduction, and Tactical Furniture Assessment for Non-Humans. Emma, still working as a gym janitor 3 days a week, became an accidental ambassador for human combat philosophy. It's not about being violent, she explained during one seminar to a room of baffled aliens. It's about being adaptable. You don't know what's going to happen, so you train to handle anything. That chair leg wasn't special. It was just there, and I needed to use it. But the force, a student started, is just proper technique, Emma finished. Full-body kinetic chain, hip rotation, weight transfer. Basic stuff. You could do it too with practice. Several aliens tried. Most pulled muscles. One accidentally destroyed a training dummy that was rated for starship impacts. See, Emma said cheerfully, you're getting it. The humans weren't trying to dominate galactic combat sports. They were genuinely confused about why everyone thought this was impressive. To them, it was just exercise, fun, something you did to stay healthy and blow off steam. This fundamental disconnect, humans treating as recreational what others considered military-grade violence, created a paradigm shift in how the galaxy understood combat, survival, and what dangerous actually meant. Zealax, watching Emma's latest match from his commissioner's booth, turned to Vex Thule. She's using a broom handle this time. I know, Vex Thule said, sounding tired. The venue cleared out when she picked it up. We're down to only the truly dedicated fans. Or the suicidal ones. On screen, Emma swept her opponent's legs with casual efficiency, then helped him up and complimented his defensive stance. The crowd went wild. She's changed everything, Zealax said quietly. Our entire understanding of combat, safety, capability, humans walked in and made it all obsolete. They didn't mean to, Vex Thule pointed out. I know, that's the truly terrifying part. This is them being friendly. 18 months after the original incident, the Galactic Combat Commission released its updated comprehensive safety guidelines. The document was 3,000 pages long. 2,000 of those pages were variations on account for human improvisation. Emma, asked to comment on her legacy during an interview, shrugged. I just wanted to compete in a tournament. It seemed fun. You revolutionized combat sports across 43 species. Did I? Emma looked genuinely surprised. Huh. Cool. Hey, is the concession stand still open? I'm starving. She left to get nachos, still holding the broom handle she'd used in her match, causing a small-scale evacuation of the corridor. Zealax's final report to the Galactic Council was brief. Subject: human integration into combat sports. Status: manageable, with extensive precautions. Recommendation: accept that humans will continue to weaponize furniture, adapt accordingly, and never assume we've seen the full extent of their capabilities. Personal note: I have watched Emma Johnson defeat 17 opponents with objects including a chair leg, a broom handle, a towel, a water bottle, and once somehow a stress ball. She apologized after every match. I do not understand this species, but I respect their ability to make me question fundamental physics while asking for sandwiches. Conclusion: humanity doesn't say F yeah because they're aggressive. They say it because they genuinely think all of this is fun. We're not dealing with warriors, we're dealing with enthusiastic hobbyists who happen to be terrifying. The universe will never be the same. Emma, unaware of the cosmic implications of her gym membership, continued mopping floors, hitting heavy bags, and occasionally redesigning alien rib cages with whatever object was handy. She was, by her own estimation, just having a good time. The galaxy was still trying to figure out if it should be impressed or terrified. Most settled on both.